Hey Spooky, I'm not sure if this is scary enough for your channel, but it's something that's stuck with me for a very long time. It happened when I was around 14 or 15, back when my family used to go camping every summer at this state park. I won't say which one, but it was a decent-sized park with a mix of hiking trails, lakes, and dense woods. We always camped in the same area, and after a few years it started to feel like a second home to us. Every night, my friend and I would go on what we called the ritual. Basically, after dinner, we'd sneak away from the campsite and wander through the woods in the dark. We had flashlights, but half the time we'd try to challenge ourselves by keeping them off and navigating by the moonlight. Probably not the smartest thing in the world, but when you're a teenager, you think you're invincible. One night, we decided to push the ritual further than usual. We walked deeper into the woods than we ever had before, and we weren't on an actual trail, just weaving between trees, trying to keep our bearings based on some landmarks we thought we recognized. It was pretty quiet, just the usual night sounds, of course, crickets, the occasional owls. There was no wind, I remember, and no rustling, just stillness. We'd gone maybe half a mile from the nearest campsite when we both froze. We heard this faint whispering behind us. At first, I thought maybe I had imagined it, but then it happened again, and my friend heard it too. We clicked on our flashlights and spun around. Nothing. Just trees and dirt. No movement. We waited for a few seconds, scanning with our flashlights, then kind of laughed it off. Figured it was probably the wind through the trees, or an animal, or something explainable. We turned the lights off again and kept walking. Maybe a minute later, we heard it again. Closer this time. Still whispering. Still low. Definitely not an animal. We turned the lights back on and just stood there. Neither of us said anything for a good 10 seconds. Then my friend whispered, "Let's go back." I nodded. We turned around and started heading back in the direction we came from, this time with the flashlights on, staying close together. And that's when we saw her. She was maybe 30 feet away, crawling on all fours through the underbrush. She was wearing dark clothes, and her face and hands looked like they were covered in dirt. She was whispering just random words, stuff that didn't make sense, like lampshade, or I'm sorry, or over here, stuff like that. Her voice wasn't angry or loud, just low and constant, like she was talking to herself. The moment she noticed we were watching her, she stopped. Then she stood up slowly and kind of swayed a bit before saying, "I'm looking for my campsite." Her voice was raspy, but she did not seem scared of us or anything, just disoriented. We asked if she was okay, and she kept saying she was fine and just needed to find her group. It was obvious she was either drunk, high, or both. Her pupils were huge, and she kept looking past us, like she couldn't focus. Well, we did not know what else to do, so we offered to help her find her campsite. The walk back was awkward. She did not say much after that, and mostly just followed behind us, kind of stumbling here and there. When we got back to the campground, we walked her around a few of the sites until somebody finally recognized her. A group of people, probably in their late 20s or early 30s, just laughed and said something like, "Oh, there you are," like it was no big deal. They had no idea she'd been missing. She must have wandered off looking for the bathroom or something, and ended up way off course. None of them seemed particularly worried about her, even though she looked like she'd been crawling through the woods for hours. My friend and I looked at each other, kind of in disbelief. We did not stick around long after that. Looking back on it, I know it wasn't the most dramatic or dangerous thing that could have happened, but it really creeped us out. I mean, seeing someone crawl through the woods, whispering nonsense in the middle of the night with no explanation, it honestly doesn't feel real when you're in the moment. And the worst part is that if we hadn't gone that far into the woods that night, she might have stayed out there until morning, or longer. Anyway, that's my story. Use it if you want to. Just thinking about it gives me that uneasy feeling in my stomach. I went solo camping last year and had one of the creepiest encounters I've ever experienced. I was out in a valley I hadn't explored before. Cell service was long gone about an hour before I even parked. It was a last-minute trip. I just wanted to get away, clear my head, hike a bit, and sleep outside. No pressure, no deadlines, no people, just peace. Well, I stayed on the trail later than I planned. It was getting dark when I ran into this guy, maybe in his late 30s or 40s. Seemed like a local, not sketchy at all. He was carrying a fishing rod and a small backpack. We chatted for a bit. He was friendly and told me about a good camping spot right off the trail but tucked away. Said it was close to the river and near the road, but not obvious to passerby. I followed him down a short offshoot, and sure enough, the spot was perfect. There was already a ring of stones from an old fire pit, and some flat ground next to it. Trees all around, good cover, and you could hear the river just a few yards away. He wished me a good night, and went on his way. It was already getting late, and I did not feel like messing with my tent, so I just set up in the bed of my truck. I've got a topper on it, and a decent sleeping setup back there. I had a fire going, cracked a beer, and put on a comedy podcast. I was loud. I laughed. I wasn't being subtle. It was one of those nights where you think you're alone and safe enough that you let your guard down. Well, I slept fine. No noises, no interruptions. I woke up early, just after sunrise. The air was cool, sun barely poking through the trees. I got the fire going again, cracked another beer, and started heating up breakfast. I was still in that zone between being relaxed and half asleep when I saw him. There was a man standing at the edge of my camp, maybe 30 feet away. I hadn't heard him approach. He wasn't the guy from the night before. This guy was different. Thin, gaunt, older, beard down to his chest. He was wearing multiple layers of old, tattered clothes, and had probably 100 plastic grocery bags tied all over him, around his arms, his waist, his legs. No backpack, no gear. He looked like he hadn't slept indoors in years. I called out to him, just a friendly, "Hey, nice morning," or something like that. Nothing. He didn't look at me, just sort of hovered near the trees, shuffling around like he was looking for something. But he wasn't scanning the ground or checking the area. It was more like aimless pacing, if that makes sense. So I offered him some breakfast. Still nothing. No eye contact, no acknowledgement. Just weird pacing along the tree line like he wasn't even aware I was there. That's when I started to feel wrong. I asked if he wanted a beer. Again, nothing. He kept walking in these slow circles with his back to me, not completely turning around, just drifting, like he was orbiting my camp. I started to get that bad gut feeling. That low, heavy kind. I had my bear spray next to me and my buck knife on my hip. I did not want to overreact, but the longer he stayed, the worse the feeling got. I finally stood up and said something like, "Hey man, if you're not going to talk to me, you need to leave." Still, nothing. I stepped forward and grabbed the bear spray. I didn't point it at him, just held it up where he could see it. That's when he finally moved. No reaction to my words. He just slowly turned and walked away. Not fast either, not in a panic. He just walked into the woods, like he had all the time in the world. I watched until I couldn't see him anymore. Then I started throwing all my gear into the truck bed as fast as I could. I didn't even eat. I was out of there in 5 minutes. The drive out was nerve-wracking. That spot was remote. If I had stayed in my tent that night, I don't know what would have happened. I keep thinking, how long had he been nearby? Was he watching me the night before? I was loud. I had a fire. He could have easily seen or heard me. I've done solo trips since, but I don't camp close to the roads anymore. And I definitely don't trust hidden spots that locals point out. I think I got lucky. I really do. To me, that guy wasn't lost. He wasn't curious. He wasn't on drugs. He was just waiting for something. And what that something was, I have no idea. We used to camp all the time when I was a kid. It was kind of our family's thing. My mom, my 2 younger brothers, my grandma, and I would all pile into the car and head out to this small campground about 2 hours from our town. It wasn't anything fancy, no hookups or stores or anything like that, but we had been going there for years. Same spot every time. We even built up a nice little fire ring and had logs set up as benches. It felt like hours. Well, this one particular trip started off normal. The weather was good, and it was just us and the 2 dogs we were watching for my aunt and uncle while they were deployed. Star and Ariel, both bird dogs. Trained, obedient, always friendly. We had brought them on a couple of trips before, and they never give us any issues. The first night, things shifted. It was around 1 a.m. when Star started growling in the tent. At first, my mom thought maybe it was a raccoon or something sniffing around. But Star wasn't barking or going nuts. She was low growling. The kind of growl that sounds like it's building into something else. My mom quietly got up and unzipped the tent, flashlight in one hand and a big camping knife in the other. She's always been protective like that. Ariel followed her out first, then Star, and I could hear both dogs let out a kind of low huff. Not a bark, but enough that it felt serious. Then it got weird. The dogs wouldn't let my mom walk toward the far side of the campsite, where the edge of the woods drops down into this ravine. They both got in front of her, side by side, standing stiff like they were guarding something. Every time she tried to move in that direction, they'd block her and push her back, guiding her toward the car. By now, we were all up. My brothers were crying, and my grandma was trying to calm them down. My mom didn't see anything, but she said the dog's body language was enough to make her skin crawl. Ariel kept pacing back and forth between the tent and the fire pit, hackles up, while Star stayed planted between us and that ravine. Neither of them took their eyes off that part of the woods. Then, without much discussion, my mom just said, "Pack up, we're leaving." It wasn't panic in her voice, just flat, like she did not want to explain anything in front of the kids. She and my grandma started tearing everything down and tossing it in the back of the car, and did not bother folding the tent or organizing anything, just shoved it all in. We were on the road within maybe 10 or 15 minutes. I remember sitting in the back seat, wrapped in a blanket, the dogs laying behind us with their heads low and ears pinned back. Then, about 10 minutes out, we realized a car was following us. No lights until we hit pavement, and then it flipped them on. We were the only ones on that road. It was past 1 a.m. on a weekday, and this car was maybe 4 car lengths behind us. It stayed at that distance, never speeding up or slowing down. The dogs both sat up at the same time and started growling again. Not barking, just that low sound, steady. The same growl from the tent. My mom was gripping the wheel so hard her knuckles were turning white. She kept checking the rear view, but wasn't saying a word. None of us were. We kept driving like that until we got close to town. You have to cross a big bridge to get into the main part, and as we started up the incline, the car behind us suddenly pulled over and did a quick U-turn back the way we came. No hesitation. That's when my mom finally let out a breath and kind of muttered, "What the heck was that?" under her breath. We pulled into the first gas station we saw and just sat there for a minute. Everyone was shaking. My mom went inside to buy cigarettes. She had quit years ago, but I think she needed something. And when she came back out, Star wouldn't let her in the car at first. She just stood there, blocking the door until my mom crouched down and made eye contact with her. I don't know what happened that night. None of us saw anything, but whatever those dogs sensed, I trusted. My mom never took us camping again after that. We never talked about it much either. It's just one of those things we all silently agreed was too strange to poke at. Anyway, if you use my story, I appreciate it, Spooky. Have a good one.